But we got to start the show talking about something that you guys have asked me to talk about for a little while, and I've put it off as long as I can. But here we go. It's back in the news. So, college football playoff expansion, to be specific, was in the news today. And when someone tells you it's going to be easy, you just need to turn and you need to run as fast as you can. It's never easy. It's taken this long for a reason. But some of the expansionists told you how many models, think about this, how many proposals did you see? How many graphics did you see floating around out there on Instagram or Twitter? And it just showed you here's how easy it would be. Make it an 8 team, make it a 12 team. Here's who gets included. Here's who doesn't get included. Here's the criteria. It's not that easy. As James Franklin would say, we're going to talk about this later in the show. A lot of moving parts. Well, you've been trusting the expansionists to lead you in good faith. They're not leading you in good faith. Just the latest example came today. I'm going to show you in just a second. I just want to reiterate. Okay, I'm against playoff expansion for several other reasons, but I've gone down that road a million times with you. I don't want to make it 1,000,001 tonight. I do not believe the postseason represents college football. I'm all about the regular season doing it. I don't really care about the end of the season as much as many do. But put that aside. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that got said today and letters. Notice how it's always in the form of letters. Letters got written today. Just remember, as we tee this up, I've always tried to remind you, even those of you who want playoff expansion, I don't doubt you want what's best for college football. We just disagree on the format. But there is another group out there. Ironically enough, it's kind of the group that's going to decide things. Do not assume they want the same things we do, because in many cases they don't. And it is my humble opinion that they have fooled some of you, and they're trying to do it again, into thinking what is best for the sport is expansion and this and that, yada, yada, yada. It's what's best for them. It's not what's best for the sport. Reasonable minds can disagree there. But I think we will come to some common ground on these particular folks having no business with their hands on the steering wheel. So here's the big shocker today. The big shocker today was the news that, quote, headline from Yahoo Sports, could have been anywhere. Bowl officials call for expanded college football playoff to be played at bowl sites and bowl sites only. No on-campus games. So what do we think about this? Well, it's, as I said in the intro, hot garbage. Obviously, that's what we think about it. Now, I want you to pause for just a second, because I know you're already angry about this, as am I. Because in any kind of expanded playoff, what you and I have in common is we all want to see playoff games on campus, as many as possible, because we believe that that is where the best version of college football exists. It does not exist in some corporate NFL stadium 1,000 miles away from campus. That's not this sport. That's the Sunday sport. I got no problem with pro football. Got no problem with the NFL. I watch it when I can. I don't also want my college football mixed in with it. Imagine how stupid these people must think you are to believe the quote that I'm about to read from you from the letter that they wrote today. Imagine how stupid they have to take you for you to believe that this is true. And I quote, the bowls would provide a neutral, competitively fair setting for these games as they have throughout their history. We're all about competitive balance here all of a sudden. To exclude bowl games from any round of an expanded playoff would be harmful to, notice the word here, bowl season. And bowl season is all caps. The first letter in bowl and the first letter in season is all caps. Because they're not talking about the season, they're talking about the people. I continue. Individual bowls and their host communities would be hurt too, and postseason college football in general. The last part is total BS, so you can dismiss that wholly. These people that wrote this letter are expecting you to believe that what should be prioritized here for the betterment of college football is preserving bowl season, translation, the folks who line their pockets during bowl season, and the host communities. Look, I got no problem with the host communities. But you know which communities I care more about? I care more about Auburn, Alabama. I care more about Norman, Oklahoma. I care more about East Lansing, Michigan than I do, in all due respect, the host communities for bowl sites. I love bowl season. I don't want to mess with bowl season. What I'm telling you is, in your precious expanded playoff, you have no business putting more meaningful games in terms of the postseason in neutral sites. That's not what anyone wants. This is not for the betterment of college football. So none of that actually is what it sounds like. They expect you to be stupid enough to buy it. They expect me to be stupid enough to go along with it. We're not. I mean, if you have sense to turn on a computer or a phone, which you had to have done to watch this show, then you could see through that. But they continue. These people don't live in your world. They never have. Just remember that. They never will. If this happened, though, let's just entertain this. This is what's best for college football, according to the bowl season, as we're going to call them. If that happened, I want you to imagine what life would be like as a fan of, let's say, the number 6 seed. Because if we're going to a 12-team playoff, then we're given the first several teams buys. I think it's 4. I can't even remember how it works. But I know if you're the 5th seed or the 6th seed and you are going to make it to the championship game, do you understand what that would ask of those fan bases? If they're going to go to the games, they're going to have to travel to 4 separate games at 4 separate neutral bowl type locations over the span of 4 weeks. And you can add on to that, most of them probably played in a conference championship game of some kind that's already in a neutral site. That's probably 5 in about the span of 5 or 6 weeks that they're going to be asked to travel to. Again, on no planet does this make sense for a normal household. The folks that are writing the letters, the folks that are making the statements, they don't live in your world. It's nothing to them. It's not even a dent in their net worth to travel to 4 games in 4 weeks or 5 games in 5 weeks. But that is beside the point. They don't care about the stadium experience to begin with. They don't treasure the environments of college football to begin with. So to them, this is a moot point. What they would tell you is, well, just sit at home and watch on TV. We'll paper the seats. Papering means corporations who pay the money get blocks of tickets and they'll just give it to people. And that's how you end up with a very sterile environment full of about 30% one fan base, 30% the other fan base, and 40% folks who couldn't name you the starting running back if their lives depended on it. That's the makeup. And this is how you get games played for a national championship in college football in Santa Clara, California, letting these folks make the decisions. So that was my take there. And I want to draw like a hard line because there was this other thing floating around out there today that I wanted to address, and it has to do with the college football playoff. But it doesn't have really much to do with what we were just talking about. So there we go. We take a pause. We breathe. As I was reading all this, as this letter came out, Heather Dinich of ESPN was talking about certain odds and ends about the college football playoff selection process. And you're looking at her tweet right now. And this is what she said. It doesn't really need context. It stands on its own. It says, the committee's job is to pick the 4 best teams, it is stated in their protocol. Sometimes there is a conversation in the room. If these teams played today, who would win? What do I think about this? One of you asked. Well, I hate it. I hate it. That's what I think about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't support expansion. Also, and this is really going to sound hypocritical, but I'll spell it out for you in a second. I've actually agreed with the 4-team playoff field that these folks have arrived at virtually every year. I've had like one minor beef, but it's been very minor. I think they've gotten it right. However, you can get something right using horrible logic. We can happen to arrive at the same conclusion, taking very divergent paths. This has no business in sports. This mentality, the Rutgers athletic director flexing his handicapping skills to determine a playoff field, has no business in a merit-based postseason. It has no business in it. Yet that's what we're talking about here. This is the danger of mixing Las Vegas and sport. There's no danger in the sense of this guy's going to get addicted to gambling, this guy's going to point shade. That's not the danger. The real danger is when people who do not speak this fluently start to try and speak the language, and they're in decision-making positions. Because you got folks out there right now who are very new to the concept of power rating and neutral field and odds making and all this stuff, but yet they're in a room and they're asked to decide a playoff field. And so you've got 12 games that have been played, and you have failed, by the way, to define the key data points that are going to be used in the selection process. And so we arrive at that garbage, where you got folks sitting around a table who have no business, who have no perfect record against the spread. Therefore, they don't belong in the conversation of determining who's going to be on a postseason field based on their opinion on who would win. And yet that's what's happening. She's telling you right now, Heather Dinich covers this stuff all year. That's what's happening. That's not a good thing. There is a spot, as I have long said, for Vegas-based odds-making logic in the college football selection process. But it's not telling you who'd be favored over who, because that's why they play the actual games. We've got an entire slate of games this weekend where favorites are going to play underdogs, and some underdogs are going to win the game outright. If that's ever happened even once, much less multiple times a week, then you cannot use that as your baseline for selecting a playoff field. What you can do is you can accomplish the same goal, but you can do it this way. Let's say instead of selecting this team over that team because that team would be favored, How about we start using the critical metrics that were used to produce that point spread and call them our data points? Why don't you do that? It's because the people aren't fluent in the language they're speaking. That's why they're not doing that. I'm telling you right now that I've got Auburn -5 over Ole Miss this weekend. And I could, if we had enough time and you didn't fall asleep, I could tell you exactly why I have that number and exactly what we used to arrive at that number. Those would be my data points. I wouldn't tell you I'm putting Auburn in over Ole Miss because I just think they'd win. I would tell you, well, this critical stat and this critical stat and this critical stat in a game of inches, that's why I think Auburn's the better team. That's how you would do that. But aside from that, that's not where Vegas belongs in this. I've long since said this. The proper role of Las Vegas in the college football playoff selection process is defining strength of schedule. Because that's where folks have got it wrong the most consistently from what I've seen, is proper definition of strength of schedule. Right now, Ohio State next week, regardless of what they do against Penn State, next week, they're going to go to Nebraska and play a game. Nebraska, in the odds making and power rating world, is a top 25 team right now. Because they've lost a whole bunch of close games, they are not ranked. They're not even close to being ranked. They're sub 500. So in the ranking world, you will have a very, very poor value placed on that Ohio State win if they do indeed go in there and win. Whereas in the power ranking world, in the odds making world, they think a whole lot more of what Ohio State does next week. That's the role. Because if you go on the road and you beat, for instance, UTSA right now, you'd get credit for beating a ranked undefeated team. If you go on the road and beat Nebraska, no one would care. Yet in an odds making world, you should get more value if you're going into Lincoln than going to UTSA and winning. So that's kind of stuff I'm talking about. This whole thing, well, I think they'd win, so let's put them in. That's not the way the selection process is supposed to work. And you're talking to someone who does power ratings every week. I don't even think my opinion should matter on that front. And I'd love to be on the committee, but I wouldn't even value my opinion. That's why they play the football games. It's the whole reason. Come up with the proper data points. Don't arrive at the end stalemated and say, well, I guess it's time to flip a coin. Oh, it landed upright. It didn't go heads or tails. Okay, well, it's time for us to just decide who we think would win. That's not how that should ever work.